This is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, August 13th. I'm Abe Madcore. Well, I can't tell you how many sources reached out regarding Paramount's massive 7-year, $7.7 billion deal for the exclusive rights to the UFC. Why is this so important? Why are we continuing to talk about it? Well, no one expected Paramount to get the entire package, and this now demonstrates a new player when it comes to sports media rights, and they will be aggressive when appropriate. And they will now be in the conversation when it comes to major forces looking to acquire sports rights. Dana White from the UFC admitted that he fully expected to split the UFC's rights among various companies. But at the last minute, Paramount's David Ellison came back to the UFC and said to TKO Group he wanted the entire package and the deal was made. Meanwhile, the biggest buzz continued that Dana White said a fight is going to happen at the White House next July 4th as part of its deal with Paramount. Can you imagine that spectacle? Meanwhile, I always look to see how Wall Street feels about these types of big moves, and the street is showing big approval of the TKO Group for making this deal. TKO Group stock hit an all-time high during trading on Tuesday. The gains were slightly paired later in the day. Paramount stock price has largely stayed around the same all week. Finally, Oliver Darcy pointed out something very interesting in his newsletter that CBS's morning show led Tuesday, not with news about President Trump or world affairs, but with a report on the news that Paramount acquired the UFC's rights. It shows how bullish Paramount feels about this deal and how much this gives, I hate to say it, kind of pep in the step of Paramount and CBS Sports, as well, of course, as the UFC. But we'll be talking about this deal for a long time. You know, I am flying to Milwaukee later today where I plan to meet with a number of the city's sports leaders. The Milwaukee Brewers, one of the best stories in Major League Baseball this year. I'm excited to feel the buzz in the city around the Brewers. Here's some news breaking today from SBJ's Brett McCormick about how the Milwaukee Bucks are finding a way to monetize a new sponsorship asset. Yes, the Bucks will work with a Madrid-based company called Stare Media for their high-resolution LED panels that will be embedded in the lower seating bowl stairways. So as you walk up the concourse or as you walk up from the court toward the concourse, you will be able to see display advertising on the stairways, visible inside the venue, visible on television. They were installed at Fiserv Forum last month. Think of them as animated vertical billboards on the stairway. The stairway sponsorship imagery will rotate throughout the game. Here's an interesting note. That signage will be blacked out during NBA national games on ABC and ESPN, Amazon, and Peacock, but these displays will be visible for games shown on the regional sports networks and highlights and on League Pass. Bottom line, an interesting new sponsorship asset that the Bucks can sell, and it's, like I said, animated billboards on their stairway. Staying with the NBA in a move that makes sense to me, Wyc Grousbeck from the Celtics, he will no longer stay on as the governor of the Celtics. That's part of the $6.1 billion sale of the team to Bill Chisholm. It's always been a bit surprising to me and to many others that Wyc Grousbeck was reported to remain as governor and CEO of the club through 2028, even though he wouldn't have majority ownership. So you would think that Chisholm, who would be the majority owner, would want to be the lead voice in front of other owners and cast the team's vote in critical matters and critical league issues. And now that will be the case, as Bill Chisholm will now assume the governor title moving forward. Now, Wyc Grousbeck, he will retain the CEO title. He'll serve as alternate governor. He'll obviously be very involved in team issues and affairs, but Bill Chisholm will be the lead governor In the Board of Governors meeting, the sale of the Celtics is expected to be complete within the next week. Here are some impressive numbers around youth sports from SBJ's Austin Karp. ABC aired the championship game of the Little League Softball World Series on Sunday. It drew 1.4 million viewers. It's the most watched Little League softball game ever. It's up 140% from the same game last year, which was on ESPN. This year's game on ABC had a lead-in with a WNBA game that surely helped the numbers, but it wasn't just one game. The entire tournament was up 66% from last year. On the baseball side, the regional round for the Little League World Series, that figure has its best number since 2022. It's up 80% from last year. We have talked about youth sports being a hot space, and these numbers and the people talking about the Little League World Series and the Little League Softball World Series shows that there is great interest in youth sports. Here's a great opportunity for anyone looking to get into the sports business. Become a volunteer for the 2026 World Cup. Yes, FIFA is accepting applications for volunteers. They want to bring on 65,000 volunteers across 16 cities. If you're looking to do something next summer, June and July, you now have a chance to apply. If you're a volunteer, you can work stadiums, training sites, airports, even hotels. You will have to try out, and training will take place in March of next year. You need to be 18 or older at the time of the application. They love people who speak multiple languages. You will need to pass a background check. And while volunteers can choose their preferred city to work in, FIFA does not help with travel or accommodations, and of course, as a volunteer, this role is unpaid, but what a great way to get experience in the sports business. I know so many people who started as a volunteer for the 1994 World Cup all those years ago. So if you can do it, do it. Let's move on to college sports. Stop me if you've heard this before, but yes, the hardest job in sports business is that of an athletic director, and the job is changing right before our eyes. More evidence? The University of South Florida, it's in the American Conference, looking for a new leader of athletics. And the job's title is CEO of athletics. That's quite an upgrade from athletic director. So what does it mean? Are the duties different, or is this just cosmetic? It's real, and it's what we have been talking about on the Buzzcast for some time. Leading a major college athletic department is far different today. These leaders have to have more of a big picture, long-range strategic planning vision. They, of course, have to understand revenue and revenue modeling. It's much less about running the day-to-day of athletics and compliance and student welfare and hiring coaches. It's much more complex. So we shouldn't be surprised if the University of South Florida's next leader comes from pro sports or even the finance world. And speaking of successful athletic directors, the best read of the week is SBJ's champion profile of longtime AD Gene Smith. It's not just a career retrospective, but this is a lesson in leadership, culture building, mentorship, and Tom Friend, my colleague, wrote a brilliant profile. It's on sportsbusinessjournal.com, and the theme of the profile is that it was never about Gene Smith, but the people around him. And as I reflect on my relationship and interactions with Gene Smith over more than a decade, that is my consistent takeaway. Gene Smith was always talking about or advocating for a colleague, for a friend, for a coworker. Never once did he pound his chest or ask for something for himself. It was always about the people he cared about and mentored, and it was never about him. He is really someone quite special, and I hope you read this fitting tribute to someone who has worked really hard to improve the lives of so many young people and always made it about them, not him. You can read Tom Friend's great profile of Gene Smith at sportsbusinessjournal.com. So my big takeaways for today's Buzzcast: 1, Don't underestimate how big this Paramount deal is for the media company's stature and the media company's place in the sports world. 2, teams continue to look for ways to monetize all available inventory. Today we see LED signage on camera visible stairways. 3, the interest and attention and investment in youth sports only continues to grow. And 4, the role of the athletic director is morphing into one more becoming a CEO of athletics. And you can read about one of the true original athletic directors, Gene Smith, on sportsbusinessjournal.com. So those are my 4 takeaways for this morning's Buzzcast. I will be in Milwaukee for the next couple of days. My colleagues will bring you the Buzzcast through the end of this week. I'll speak to you next week. So that is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, August 13th. I'm Abe Madkour. Stay healthy, be good to each other. I'll speak to you down the road.